Welcome back to Fast Market on the TD Ameritrade Network. I'm Tom White, joined by my co-host Kevin Hinks. But let's bring in our next guest for our cash tag segment. That's going to be Harrison Sweeney, research analyst at LikeFolio. Thanks for being here, Harrison.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so we're talking Nvidia. Shares are down pretty significantly, about 24% so far this year, pulled back from those all-time highs that we saw in November, which, like a lot of stocks, are doing the same. It's a high growth name. It's a leader in multiple different silos. What kind of data are you guys seeing on Nvidia? Because this is a gaming, this is data centers. They've got a bunch of different levers to pull as far as revenue goes. But are you guys seeing positive data out of LikeFolio for Nvidia?
Yeah, so this is one of our favorite companies. We've liked this name since 2019. That bullish position has done phenomenally well. And now that it's pulled back, this is a great time to sort of reevaluate that outlook, looking at the long-term data. So Nvidia, for us, the gaming is really, that's our key insight, because the data centers are very business to business. So there's not a lot that can be gained from a consumer insight standpoint. But you can see here on this opportunity outlier grid, Nvidia is surpassing both of its peers, or these are just two of its peers in the consumer PC component space. And this is a very long-term outlook that we're looking at here. So this is the change in the last 2 years. And Nvidia stands out here as having the highest rate of growth, which is the x-axis there, but it also has the highest volume of mentions, which is indicated by the size of that dot on the chart there. And that sort of is the key to their gaming success, is that they are still the dominant name when it comes to gaming components. So just for a brief rundown of this, when it comes to gaming on a computer as opposed to a pre-assembled console, there's a number of different parts that you'll need to invest in, but the graphics processing unit, the GPU, is sort of the premier item, that the top line has the biggest impact on performance, but it's also the most expensive. And NVIDIA's had that specific component, that market locked down it's been over 5 years now, and we have not seen that let up even since that massive COVID spike. You see there are a lot of gaming related mention trends have that, just because of the lockdowns. Gaming suddenly surged. But even since normalization, you can see that growth has resumed relative to 2019. And that for us is very bullish for the long term here. And it's also mirroring the overall trend in just generic PC gaming. So PC gaming is still on the rise. Nvidia, as it relates to gaming, still on the rise. And their gaming segment just continues to put up great numbers. And Nvidia has done better than many other tech companies when it comes to navigating a lot of these pitfalls that we've seen as far as the supply chain side and just being profitable in general. And that has extended to their business-to-business side as well, too. So we are still maintaining a long-term bullish outlook, although the near-term is anyone's guess.
Harrison, there's a lot to go through here, and you're right. This is a company with discrete graphics card. I have to read some of these because I don't know all these terms. They control about 80% of that business coming out of 2021. They're clearly have vaulted past Intel to be the leader in this business, but I'm more concerned as a trader, from a trading perspective, of they have a March 22nd investor day where they basically describe this investor day as a motherload of content that they're going to release. So do you guys have any information? I shouldn't ask that. I'm sure you don't have specific information about this, but is this company really doing I mean, your third chart that you put up, the purchase intent versus sentiment, has NVIDIA grown that much that I know from being on with Megan and being on with Andy and Landon, that the size of the circle represents the size of the company or the market share, right? Are they that much bigger now than Intel and that much bigger than AMD? Because this isn't that old of a company. Have they really vaulted that quickly?
Well, this is a case of them, yes, just having a huge footprint in the gaming space. I mean, as you said, 80% of market share for GPUs, and that's kind of something that everybody needs who is planning to do any sort of modern gaming on a computer. So they have that, and then you're sort of just in their ecosystem for life, then having to update the software for that piece of equipment, and they just are sort of going to be part of your life then. So that's part of what drives that consistently high level of mention volume for NVIDIA. And it's also worthwhile to note that they've done a great job of creating this era of exclusivity and generating consumer hype around the release of their new graphics cards. So the most recent being the RTX 3000 series. Those were sold out within minutes of being available for sale. Crazy resale prices we're seeing. So that is very helpful for them in terms of creating a larger mention volume.
Yeah, and Harrison, you mentioned, you guys are taking a lot of your data from the gaming side, which is their bread and butter, but the other components within their businesses, whether it's autonomous vehicles, AI, and the data centers, are starting to pick up, become a bigger part of their revenue, which is great for this multifaceted company. But moving forward, one of the big, keywords that we're hearing about is metaverse, right? And NVIDIA's already signed a deal with Meta Platforms, Facebook, that they're going to be involved deeply with that. And if they've got the best graphics cards, do you guys have any data that Metaverse mentions tie in NVIDIA to, which could be another silo of revenue generation? Because, right, everybody's going to be wearing those AR headsets, right? You probably got an NVIDIA chip in there.
Yeah, so once again, anything where it's like a chip inside of another product, we can't really necessarily mine those mentions, because that's not always something a consumer would be referencing. But as it does relate to the metaverse, it is very promising to see them renting out. Basically, these companies are also using them for their processing power. So consumers come to NVIDIA for heightened processing power for these high-end graphics on games. And then the companies come to them for these incredibly demanding new applications that they're coming out with, a lot of which are artificial intelligence. I believe it was Block, the company formerly known as Square, recently signed a deal with NVIDIA, and they're providing them with processing power for an AI chatbot. So it's a reactive chatbot that behaves like a real person. And obviously that requires an extreme amount of processing power that Block themselves doesn't have. So NVIDIA can step in there. And I think we're only going to see more and more of the demand for this from companies as well as consumers as all of this metaverse stuff unfolds.
Yeah, we should see that continuation, another silo for them as far as revenue growth. So you guys are longer term positive on NVIDIA moving forward, but near term a little bit more uncertain. Is that correct, Harrison?
That is correct, yes.
All right, great stuff. As always, out of LikeFolio. Harrison, thank you so much for being here today. Have a great day.
Thanks, you guys too.
All right, that's Harrison Sweeney, research analyst at LikeFolio.